Realizat în kickboxing, doamnelor și domnilor, se luptă pentru Storm. Let's give it up din Luton, United Kingdom, for Andrew Tate!
He is the one that can see John Cena, hailing from Long Beach, California, introducing Chase DeMoor!
Listen, we need to talk about something before we dive into any predictions here. Andrew Tate stepping into the ring with Chase DeMoor isn't your typical influencer boxing spectacle. This whole thing carries a weight that's completely different from what we usually see in these events. There's an intensity here that you can actually feel building. See, whenever Tate enters any arena, the entire atmosphere shifts. Everything becomes more polarized. People don't just watch casually, they pick sides hard. They're either completely invested in seeing him succeed or desperately hoping he gets humbled. That kind of energy changes everything before anyone even throws a punch. Now think about this. The man hasn't stepped into professional competition for half a decade. He's coming back not in kickboxing where he made his name, but in pure boxing. And he's doing it against someone who holds the heavyweight title, someone younger, someone physically bigger, someone who sees this as his breakout moment to prove he belongs at the top level. This creates a fascinating dynamic. It's not just about who hits harder or moves better, it's about proving something. For Tate, it's showing that his reputation isn't just internet noise. For Chase, it's demonstrating that he can handle the biggest stage and the brightest lights when everything is on the line. What makes this dangerous is that both fighters have legitimate reasons to believe they can win. And when that happens, when both men step in thinking victory is within reach, that's when fights become truly unpredictable. The moment this matchup got announced, you could see the internet fracture in real time. People immediately started picking sides. Some dismissed it as pure entertainment. Others went deep into research mode, pulling up old footage, analyzing past performances, trying to figure out if Tate's reputation matches his actual skill level. That question haunts this entire fight. Has his public persona grown bigger than his fighting ability? Or is there still something genuinely dangerous lurking underneath all the controversy? These aren't just casual questions either. They carry weight because Tate isn't walking in as some feel-good underdog story. He's arriving with massive expectations. There are people waiting to dissect every mistake. The second he looks uncomfortable or out of place, the criticism will be instant and brutal. Most fighters crumble under that kind of microscope, but Tate has built his entire brand around thriving in hostile environments. He operates like someone who expects confrontation, who welcomes it. That mentality doesn't automatically translate to victory, but it absolutely changes how someone handles pressure when everything starts falling apart. Meanwhile, Chase is dealing with his own psychological battle. This isn't just about defending a championship for him. This is about establishing credibility. A win here doesn't just keep his belt. It launches his name into completely different territory. It transforms him from a social media boxer into someone who beat Andrew Tate when the whole world was watching. That kind of opportunity can be dangerous though. When fighters want something too desperately, they tend to force things. They abandon patience for aggression. They hunt for moments instead of letting them develop naturally. Boxing has a way of punishing that kind of desperation. The buildup has only intensified these psychological dynamics. Tate has controlled the narrative completely, dismissing Chase as almost irrelevant, calling this whole event the Andrew Tate Show, acting like the belt is just a bonus compared to the statement he plans to make. That approach either breaks an opponent mentally or lights a fire under them. From what we've seen, Chase seems energized by the disrespect. He's fired back on social platforms. He's promised to shock everyone. But there's always that question of whether confidence crosses into emotional investment. The more personal this gets, the harder it becomes to stay composed when adversity hits. Those opening moments are going to reveal everything. I don't see Tate coming out reckless. That's not his style. He's always been more of a student in there, someone who wants to read his opponent before fully committing. Expect him to take center ring, keep his guard high, and move with purpose rather than urgency. He'll throw jabs to measure distance rather than inflict damage. He'll feint to study reactions. Does Chase bite on fakes? Does he freeze up? Does he overreact to movement? All of that information gets stored away for later use. Chase will likely bring forward pressure from the start. Not wild swinging, but deliberate aggression. He wants Tate to feel that size advantage immediately. He wants to establish that this is his territory now. He wants to back Tate up and show everyone watching that he's not intimidated by the moment. Here's where the mental game gets interesting. If Chase feels like he's controlling the distance early, his confidence builds. If Tate looks comfortable slipping shots and staying relaxed, Chase starts second-guessing his approach. These subtle shifts happen long before any real damage occurs, but they determine how everything else unfolds. Expect Chase to throw some heavy shots early that don't quite connect. Big hooks, hard rights, the kind of punches that look devastating but miss by margins. Every miss costs energy. Every miss creates a little frustration. Meanwhile, Tate will probably stay economical, minimal movement, nothing wasted. He's not there to look impressive in round one. He's there to survive, learn, and gradually seize control. As we move into the second and third rounds, these contrasts become more obvious. Chase might start pressing harder, trying to force exchanges when the initial pressure doesn't yield results. This is natural fighter behavior. When immediate success doesn't come, they escalate. They swing harder, they commit more fully, and commitment creates opportunities for counters. This is where Tate's experience becomes a real weapon. He doesn't need to win every exchange decisively. He just needs to interrupt Chase's rhythm consistently. A clean jab here, a short counter there, just enough to remind Chase that he's being timed, studied, and punished for mistakes. Those moments accumulate more than people realize. Once a fighter starts hesitating, even slightly, their aggression loses its edge. They begin second-guessing, they slow down. That initial momentum starts evaporating. Conditioning becomes a factor here too. Chase carries significant muscle mass. That build provides explosive power but drains quickly under sustained activity. If he's throwing power shots without landing clean, his gas tank becomes questionable. Tate, meanwhile, has years of experience managing his energy output and pacing himself through longer battles. If this fight reaches the middle rounds, watch the body language carefully. Chase might still be coming forward, but with less spring in his step, less snap on his combination. Tate might start stepping forward more confidently, not hunting for a knockout, but sensing that control is shifting his way. This is often where fights turn quietly. No dramatic moment, no obvious shift. Just a gradual change where one fighter looks more comfortable while the other looks increasingly desperate. That desperation leads to wilder swings, wider punches, and defensive breakdowns. If Tate finds his opening, it will probably come during these moments. Short, sharp counters when Chase overcommits. Punches thrown into the spaces between Chase's attacks. Nothing flashy, just efficient and well-timed. If Chase gets tagged cleanly, even once, everything changes. It doesn't need to drop him. A clean shot that snaps his head back, makes his legs stiffen for half a second, introduces doubt into his mind. Doubt is toxic in boxing. It makes fighters abandon their game plans. It makes them fight with emotion instead of intelligence. From there, several scenarios become possible. If Chase manages to stay composed, adjust his pressure, and avoid overcommitting, he could drag this into a messy physical battle. He could make Tate uncomfortable, force clinches, and turn it into a pure test of will. That's his clearest path to victory. But if Chase continues pressing recklessly, keeps throwing power shots without proper setup, lets frustration drive his decisions, then the door opens for a late stoppage. Not because Tate is hunting desperately for a knockout, but because exhaustion creates openings. Hands drop, footwork deteriorates, reactions slow down. That's when clean shots start finding their target more frequently. If there is a knockout in this fight, I expect it to look controlled rather than wild. A perfectly timed counter, a short combination that catches Chase stepping in carelessly. Something that appears almost simple, but only works because one fighter stayed patient while the other lost composure. Of course, none of this is guaranteed. At heavyweight, fighters don't need many mistakes to change everything instantly. One clean connection early could completely flip the script. That's the risk Tate is taking by returning this way. No tune-up fights, no safety net, no room for error. That's what makes this compelling though. It's not just about technical skill, it's about who handles pressure better, who adapts faster, who maintains composure when their initial plan falls apart. These mental battles often matter more than physical ones. The spectacle outside the ring will be massive. Social media will explode in real time. Clips will go viral within minutes. Every round will generate debates. Every facial expression, every exchange, every moment of body language will get analyzed endlessly by millions of people. Here's what I think matters most though. Regardless of how this ends, it's going to reshape the entire landscape of influencer boxing. This fight represents a stress test for the biggest narratives in this space. Everything gets put on the line simultaneously. If Tate returns looking sharp, composed, and legitimately dangerous, it opens floodgates. Every major name suddenly wants part of that spotlight. Callouts get louder, stakes get higher. The entire conversation shifts from questioning whether Tate belongs here to wondering who's brave enough to face him next. That transforms everything overnight. But if Chase shows he can handle the pressure, absorb all the hype, and impose himself against someone with vastly more experience, that makes a different kind of statement. That's the type of victory that transforms a belt into genuine legitimacy. It proves this division isn't just built on famous names, but on fighters who can rise when moments demand greatness. What makes this fascinating is that it's not just about the punches thrown, it's about momentum, it's about perception, it's about what comes next. After that final bell, one man leaves with more than just a win or loss. He leaves with leverage. Leverage in future negotiations, leverage in callouts, leverage in how the entire combat sports world discusses him going forward. So when you watch this, don't just look for the knockout punch, pay attention to the reactions. Study the body language. Notice who looks comfortable and who appears overwhelmed. Watch who adapts and who forces things. Those details reveal more than any scorecard ever could. This is one of those rare fights where the aftermath might prove just as significant as the action itself. The post-fight interviews, the immediate callouts, the social media explosion, the debates that continue for weeks. All of that matters because it shapes what happens next in this entire space. That's why this fight carries weight, not because it's perfect or pure, but because it's raw, completely unpredictable, and loaded with consequences that extend far beyond one night.